welcome to today's feature, which is about questions concerning some of the symbols and sigils in my tattoos, which are a combined form of Old Swedish and Norse combined with symbols that can be used to symbolize or manifest different aspects and forces of manifestation and creativity, as well as different letters. So let's start with one of the more common ones, and to me one of the more important ones as well, which is what's on my right hand here. This is the official seal, sigil and symbol for both hypothermia and Vemodsorkestern, which are the same thing. They are the same entity that I use to describe the creative vessel that is hypothermia. And within it you can find all the letters of both hypothermia and Vemodsorkestern, along with very an older implementation of binding runes or letters together, referring to a wheel, and that is of course a cycle, and I think that is a very fitting aspect of hypothermia, because it's all about slow movement at the wheel of eternity, and a continuous reflection of the forest and its voice or breath. Here on my left hand is the sigil for a song called En mil mot vind, which is a bit hard to translate roughly, but it's because 10 kilometers is more than a mile, but simply put, a mile against the wind. Simply put, it's about going against the current and embracing emptiness and the void, which is why it's on my left hand, which is what I use when I play guitar for the connection to the void, in a way, as I like to represent it. So that's what that means. Then, following the same hand, on my fingers are the symbols of Skogens hjärta, initiation, which is an important song from the next album, the second part of Svartkonst. And of course the ritual dagger of hypothermia. The sigil for Vartofta. The sigil for Naturkraft, force of nature, which is another upcoming album of hypothermia that comes in a couple of years from now. Well prepared. Then above it is Gudalik, the corpse of God, or godlike, divine, which is the previous album by Consider Suicide. And here we have Svartkonst and Vintermelankoli, an important concept of my piano recordings of Consider Suicide, and ritualistic minimalism, which is another concept that has been in hypothermia for over a decade now, but it's connected to another part of another story that I want to tell, so it's not officially recorded yet. We have performed maybe a third of the songs maybe 6 or 7 years ago when we used to do some concerts, but we removed it from the set list after that because I felt that it was not the right time to record that album, and I wanted to set the creative wheels in motion for recording the trilogy of Svartkonst instead, which is what we're currently working on finishing. Then of course on my throat is the sigil of Sväva, to levitate, and the beginning an invocation of my project Consider Suicide. Another connection to the void, and below it is a header, which is the district plant and flower of the West Gothlands, Västra Götaland, which is where I'm from and where I live. Thus, it's on my heart. And on each side of it is fox jaws, inspired by fox that we used for the art of Skogens Hjärta by Hypothermia, which marked an important milestone in my life. And inside of the jaws are the sigils for Alltid Alena and Nattmelancholy. And of course, across my left arm are a base of mycelium that grows into the bodies of mushrooms, which then of course, as nature has it, releases its spores. In a landscape of wounds, which is my devotion once again to the void, but also to nature and one of its most important and valuable specimens that are here to supply mankind and other species perhaps with the keys to realms beyond this one. So that's why it's portrayed in each of its developing stages. And of course, I have some other less important things that will have a better purpose to be discussed in another video in the future, when it's because they are my feet tattoos are connected to the Naturkraft album, so it will make more sense to talk about them in more detail when it's time to talk about that album as well. And as I've mentioned and explained previously, this was my first tattoo 13 years ago, almost 14, which is my tribute to my roots in black metal and to the Norwegian band that inspired it, and it's a part of one of their symbols of Forgotten Woods in their first albums, which this drawing is from. Hopefully it was interesting enough, and I apologize if this is very brief. I can't think of enough to say about the different symbols without getting into the albums or times of my life that they have connections to or that they represent. But of course, as always, if you have any further questions, I'm more than happy to do my best to reply and answer those questions and comments. So let me know in the comments, and I will try to give the most requested information my attention. And with that, I thank you for listening and watching. See you next time. Take care. Hi, and welcome back to this little second part of my video about symbols and tattoos that I decided to add because if I made just a second separate part in this series, it would be just more likely that some of you will miss the information that I'm covering in the first part of this video, so I'd rather add a few minutes going through some extra information about what I was talking about a few minutes ago. So, for example, to clarify some of the things that some of you have been asking about when it comes to, for example, the significance of some of the symbols. I think beyond my main practice, which combines the alphabet with runes and symbols of alchemy and just similarities to various tools, because to me the sigils and symbols are kind of a tool, not just in magic, but in the meditation and ritual where you are making the sigil as a practice. When you're making that tool or that key through one ritual to amplify and empower another, you are usually creating your own system or building upon a system of someone else. At least that's the way I was taught how this works or can work, and to me this is what works for me. It may be different for you, and that's just fine. But since my main goal is to amplify or empower something that I'm already doing, to have this as an extension of myself and my practice, through, for example, my art and my bands. That's why I'm putting these symbols on different parts of my body as well. And it's often connected to different times and seasons where the albums have been manifested, and then the symbols, of course, themselves are connected to that and act as a additional extension to that theme. For example, in Sväva, to levitate, you have the 2 cycles of the moon going, cycling through itself, which of course for me is a suitable thing to have on my throat, because it's connected to the sounds that I'm making and the words that I'm speaking. And the moon is and has always been a reoccurring theme in my different bands, and through many journeys that I've experienced, the moon has been a true extension in so many ways, and that's something that I'm going to talk more about in both the videos about psychedelia and my upcoming feature about Skogens hjärta. And that symbol is pretty easy to explain, and I think some of you may find some connections to what I've been speaking about in the past minutes. And with that, I'm going to end this video with a short little request. It's not mandatory, and I'm simply asking, I'm not begging anyone, because right now making these videos and working on the next albums of Consider Suicide and Hypothermia, and awaiting the second album of Cal that we finished a couple of months ago, that we're finishing the release for. I'm currently unemployed, and the only thing that really keeps me going while doing mundane things as waking up and breathing and applying for jobs and things like that. That doesn't really do much for me. My main focus is doing things like this. I like talking to you and explaining my journey as an artist, and that's something I would like to do a lot more. So those of you who are able to spare any kind of funds, look at my hand here and you will see a nice little clarification of an account I've had for the past decade that I started when I uploaded Skogens Hjärta for free, just as the majority of these videos are. What I do doesn't require you to pay anything, but if you can share something, go to donate@enjoy.com, enter that email in your PayPal account, and send whatever you feel that you can share. And I deeply appreciate it, even if it's just enough to buy me a sandwich or a beer. Doesn't really matter. Coffee is even more important. But of course I have enough to keep this roof over my head. I have enough for my bills and things like that. I'm an adult. I can take care of myself. So just what I said, I'm not begging any of you. But if you like what I do, I would deeply appreciate if you're able to send something my way. And of course, if you prefer to get something more than my music and videos in return, feel more than free to go to enjoy.com. Just click on the picture that you will find there, and that will take you to the web shop. And regardless of what people are saying, it's active, and I do weekly or bi-weekly shippings, but my internet connection is incredibly limited where I am here. I don't have internet at this place. The closest internet is 10 kilometers in that direction, which means 20 kilometers walking or on bike to upload these videos anytime that I'm doing that, which also goes for going to a post office. But that's my problem, not yours. Anyway, sorry for the ramble, and thanks for listening and watching. I hope you found any of it interesting, and as always, if you have questions, let me know. You know how YouTube works. You don't need to hear me every video asking you to click subscribe or hitting the bell or things like that. I'm doing that in this particular video right now, but as you can see in most of my videos, I'm not reminding you every single video, because most of you are adults and you're on the internet watching this, so you know generally how it works. Once again, sorry for the ramble. And thanks for watching. Take care.